Greetings YouTube and welcome back to my sketchbook. And here we have a large rectilinear spear, though these scallops down here kind of belie the angularity of the rest. I'm not really sure what I was going for here. It is a little on the silly side. And here we have a very simple spear. And again, I believe this is an illustration for someone who just wanted a generic, simple spear that could be used as an illustration in a game that they were running. Here we have a spearhead, and I wanted to show both the on front and edge view to demonstrate that this in here was kind of a spine. So it's pretty much cylindrical in cross section in here. It's circular there. I don't know why I chose that, but I did. Here we have a one-handed sword, short sword, and this actually isn't too bad. I don't think I did a bad job on this. I thought it was kind of interesting. Here we have an overly chunky one-handed axe. The blade is too big, I think. I think should have brought that scale down a little bit, but it's not horrible. Here we have an alien style sword. I was very much going for kind of a science fiction feel, something you'd find in an anime style setting or manga. So you have some nice curves in here, and then you have a concave curve here, and the grip with this large, almost Chinese style ring at the pommel. And most people who see this will say, that's based on Star Wars. And guess what? It's based on Star Wars. It is my version of a Star Wars weapon, a battle staff, because Star Wars had battle staffs. And this over here is, it was a magic item. I think it was a staff topper, though it could be used as a weapon. It was mostly designed as just simply an interesting aesthetic design with, again, a vaguely organic design. And again, I'm not good at organic things. I know this. Here we have two hand blades. This one, semi-functional and useful. Hold it this way, you can slash in either direction. This one is way, way, way too ornate. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, this is a weaponized harp. I'm aware that that is the section traditionally held against the body when you play a harp. But I wanted to try something different, so in this particular, it is used this way, because this is also how you hold the weapon item to use as a weapon. And I'm going in here, and this was designed as these Dutchmen in here were designed to show how it was constructed. Though if I had done it right, these would have been hourglass shaped. I really should have made them hourglass shaped, and I didn't. That's a mistake on my part. But I was trying to show how you would use different sections of wood to get the overall curves involved in here. I remember I had one person once ask me what digital tool I use to put in wood graining, and I said a pencil, because I drew all this stuff by hand. Here we have something that is kind of absurd. It is a stone double sword. Yes, those are stone blades, obviously too long than you would find in the real world, but you could do it in a fantasy setting with spells that could reinforce materials beyond their normal ken, or it was using a special kind of crystal that was as strong as bronze or steel. And again, if I'm ever going to use a double sword, my double swords are 1/3 proportions, because that kind of almost makes it believable. When you have like a little tiny one hand with two big blades, that doesn't work. Here we have a weird kind of alien polearm that has a bells in the back, and again, the whole scare the spirit away thing. Here we have another big, a great scimitar, though kind of in a one-handed version. That didn't come out that bad. I kind of like that one. Here we have an experiment in a mace, so very large, over-the-top flanged mace with a hollow sphere in the middle and a kind of sphere down here as a counterweight. And this is interesting. This is give you an example of something I started and I never finished it. I was working on a wooden two-bladed Makana. So these would have been inset flint or obsidian blades, and I wasn't feeling it, so I stopped. And I never finished it. So there you go. See, you're seeing it in its never completed form, and this was back in January of 04. And here we have a hand blade. Now this design in the middle with the 4 fingers and the thumb, that isn't bad. The fact that these had diamond-shaped triangular-shaped cross sections, that isn't necessarily bad, but these are way too long. These should have been that long, not as long as they were, and I think it could have worked, but it was kind of absurd, kind of almost like a Freddy Krueger thing going on there. Here we have another over-the-top two-handed axe with many, many curves. In retrospect, I didn't pull it off. Here we have a one-handed double dagger, and I like this one because you'd hold it like this, so you had these blades, the whole thing curving this way in your hand, and I think that's kind of nice. I think it would have been interesting. The inside part would not have been sharp, but you could still stab with it. They're too thin. I think I should have made them a little chunkier, but overall I don't think it was a bad idea, just not perfectly executed. Here we have some spheres. This was a bamboo shaft, and getting the bamboo to look kind of organic took me a bit. But I think I came across at least giving the impression of what bamboo looks like, if it's not perfect. And it's got kind of a crescent leaf shape. And here we have another one, which is a bent wooden design. This would be done intentionally with, again, a crescent moon. Both of this thing to me very much speaks Druid. Here we have just a very simple spearhead. This could even be used as a lance head if you were being very, very deadly, say hunting dragons. This may have been a request if someone wanted a simple design. But sometimes I just like simple, you know what I mean? Here we have another... sorry about the glare, it's horrible. There we go. Here we have another hand blade. Too many points, too thin, but overall not a horrible idea, just not well executed. I should have dropped these, made these shorter. These two and the center one are all good. Blade may be a little bit long, but not too bad. Here we have a one-handed kind of a cutlass. I really liked this design. I think I like this. I would like to see that in real life. Maybe this curve is a little too much. Maybe I would have made that a little more subtle. But I really like this guard in here and the integral design and everything. I think that came out quite well. Here we have a very exotic alien battle axe of some variety. So you could really choke up in here if you wanted to, hold it like this with one hand and one here, or you slide both in here so you can get more power. So you could do thrusting and chopping, and it's really designed to look out of this world. And I liked the aesthetic, even though it is not what you'd call really all that realistic. Here we have a one-handed spherical club with a back spike. So the top view shows you here. It looks like that teardrop from top, and the inside of that would have been sharpened. Sorry, checking my time. Here we go with a two-handed weapon. Could be considered a spear. Could be considered kind of a naginata fantasy version with some kind of side blades. I think if I had taken the blades off, I think that would have been more visually interesting. I really do. Just lost those blades completely. But you know, hindsight's 20/20. Here we have a throwing stick which has been reinforced with metal and actually had a sharpened point. So this is kind of a take on the Australian throwing weapons. Remember, most Australian throwing weapons were never intended to return. Boomerangs that were intended to return were toys, but many of them did have intentional aerodynamic characteristics. For example, they would fly along the ground like this, and then they would curve up, which was useful for spooking a flock of birds, and then cutting up through the birds, hitting one or more of them enough to injure them and get them to the ground by breaking a limb or a wing. So I think that's kind of interesting. And here we have a a battle staff with 2 different blades on it, which I think was kind of an interesting design. And here we have a very simple 2-handed sword, which had an actual bent metal handle. So it was one piece bent kind of in a cotter pin design. And again, I was going for a very simple, straightforward, utilitarian aesthetic with that.